Welcome to Tower Gardening Made Easy, and I'm Sherry. Today, we're going to take this baby green section right here, which is arugula, and make it into a salad, but using a very specific method called cut and come again. Welcome back, everybody. So today I'm going to be showing you a very specific way on how to go ahead and trim your baby green section. Or maybe you have your greens, your lettuce, your spinach, your kale, your bok choy, things of that nature in your main section of your tower. There's a method called cut and come again that protects the integrity of the plant and gives you weeks and months of continuous growth. So let's go ahead and do that now. Welcome back, everybody. So I'm going to be demonstrating this cut and come again method on 3 different types of greens. One is going to be this arugula, another will be Boston Bibb, and the third will be celery. This particular method called cut and come again is to maintain the integrity of your plant so that it continuously grows for many months to come. So basically what cut and come again is what you want to do with arugula. Now you can use scissors, but because this is on the smaller side, I'm going to go ahead and just snap off the branches of what I want. So in each of the instances here with the cut and come again method is to I like to hold it from the bottom and then just clip, twist, and break. Now, I take a little bit from the very, very bottom of each plant. You don't want to stunt the plant, each individual rock wall. You want to take just a little bit from the bottom, maintaining the center, which is where it's growing from, called the crown. So I'm just taking little bits. Now, the other thing you can do is try to separate. Normally when I plant big lettuce, especially the Boston Bibb, I plant every other versus every. But these guys are pretty much contained and they don't intertwine like other lettuces. So again, you want to leave the center alone. So separate it the very best that you can without breaking anything. And then just take small snippets from around the bottom sides, and then if you can get into the top, you want to pull there too, but I tend to just grow from the bottom. So if you can see this leaf right here, this is a great leaf to just go ahead, twist, and break. So this is how you would use this method with arugula. So let's go ahead and go over to the Boston Bibb, and I'm going to demonstrate the cut and come again method with that particular lettuce. Okay, so this is the Boston Bibb, or the baby green as you can see, it's very, very soft. Okay, and so this is the same thing. You want to gently just pull up from the bottom, and you may have some leaves that have some slight browning. So this would be an opportunity to go ahead and do a little bit of pruning before you take the leaves that you want. It's normal to have a little bit of, I would call it spoilage, if you will, just on the very bottom. It's kind of like if you were to buy a head of lettuce at the grocery store, you're always going to peel that excess layer off anyway. So let's go ahead and do the cut and come again method on this plant. Now, because again, this is pretty small, you can just go ahead and snip it with your fingers. And you can see that it's very leafy and large and lush. And I'm going to just go from the bottom. I'm going to go for those big, yummy leaves that are down below and just slightly pinch them up. Now you can use shears if you want, you can use scissors if you want, but I find this method to be effective with just pulling what you need. And again, pulling from the bottom, you don't want to stunt just one plant, although this is pretty good size. Pick what you need. And then what I would do is that I'm just going to move you just a little bit because I have it all over the place. Let's just set this one up a little bit. There we go. And notice I've got a little bit of arugula that's on the bottom. And one thing I want to just point out here that I really like about this is the arugula is a little more firm, and this tends to be kind of lofty. So planting arugula on the very bottom and having something lofty will actually prop it up a little bit. So that's actually a little tip that I learned with this round of lettuce. And again, I'm just pulling what I need and coming into the sides. Great. I'm just, for demonstration purposes, I'm just pulling off a few here and there. But look at this leaf. Look how yummy that is. Now, I will say, as time goes on, as you go ahead and trim on the outside by using the specific method, it will continue to grow at the crown, and you never want to pull from the center, because then what will happen is it really will just kind of, go to seed and start to bolt, or you really just won't get a lot of growth. And at that point, what I would suggest is pull the whole thing out, cut the rock wall off, and just enjoy it. You could probably get very many harvests out of this particular method. I would say a good 3 to 4 months. But the minute it starts to go a little bit bitter, where you're not seeing that big lofty type leaves like this guy over here, let me just get in there. If you're not seeing this type of size, then it's time to go ahead and pull it. But here's the thing. I know that you guys are super smart gardeners, and that when you're starting to do this and it's at this stage, I know that over in your nursery that you've started some greens to grow, and they don't take very long, 4 to 6 days to really germinate. And then the next thing is you're just going to pop them in, and within a couple of weeks, you're going to have this beautiful head of lettuce. So let me go ahead and show you how to go ahead and trim out some celery, because it really is the same technique. And you can see where I've already trimmed out a little bit. Let me just get rid of this light. You can see where I've trimmed right here, and you can see that this goes all the way to the top. Okay, so I've used this grow port here for my celery, and it goes all the way around with the exception of that front grow port, because I had to pull that one out. And you can see where this is just, it's almost the size of the grocery store. But when you cut this back, cut it back when it's small, because it's so tender and so flavorful. And if you chop it up really fine, the flavor is just outstanding. So again, never cut from the center, because that's where the celery grows. And you can kind of see it right there. There's a little bit of brownage. So this probably is, I would say, almost on its way out. But see where I'm just going to go ahead and cut right here? And then that will just die off, and then you'll get some new growth. But this is telling me right here, this little brownage, that this is pretty much done, because this has been here now for 4 or 5 months. But let me show you another stalk that's really amazing, that it just continues to grow. I mean, look at all that growth right there. Back up just a little bit. It just keeps coming out of the rock, the rock wall in the net pot, and there's just so much celery up here. So I just get in here and see how the stalks. Let me just cut one off so you can see, like on the very exterior of it. Notice how thin that is. And I'm telling you, the thinner that it is, the juicier, the more flavorful that it is. You will not be disappointed. So I had just planted in the nursery another, I would say 10, maybe 12 rock walls that are going to be celery. And I'm going to probably put them on the top of either the watermelon or the bean. So I did 10. And these are all going to be celery. So they're not up by any means yet. They were just planted out, but that will all be celery. And it takes a minute, because the seeds are very grainy like. But as you can see, I really enjoy having the tops of these be, kind of that big lofty lettuce and celery. So we'll go ahead and just cover these back up. Hey, welcome back. So if you were wondering what the baby arugula looked like, this is the packet that I got with the tower from Tower Garden. And I'm telling you, this arugula is the bomb. It's so flavorful and so tender. You definitely, if you have this in your kit, go ahead and grow it. You will not be disappointed. And again, this is what I yielded from the cut and come again method. And all of my plants are still intact with lots and lots to grow. So, if you only have 1 or 2 towers, it's okay. You're still going to be able to pull some really good greens. And another tip for you is when you go ahead and plant them out in your rock wall, be sure to use a larger seed pot so that you can go ahead and fill up that hole with a lot of lettuce seeds. Don't be shy. Let them come up, let them sprout, and you can always pull out a few if there's too many once they start to grow, and then before you put them in your tower. So I hope that was helpful. And you'll by doing cut and come method, you will maintain the integrity of the plant for a long time to come. And you'll have lettuce pretty much every single day. So we'll see you soon. Be sure to catch some of my other videos. And as always, catch me 11 o'clock on Wednesday for my podcast called Let's Talk About It. Because as gardeners, you know, we have lots to talk about. See you soon.